Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Timeless, Season 1, Episode 2. It's called The Assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Full spoilers for the episode. Lincoln gets shot.
Are all the episode titles just going to be what historical event this week?
I have no idea.
I haven't looked ahead, but I kind of hope they are.
Although one trend that I did notice in this episode, well, from these first two episodes, is that it seems like we're always going to start with how the thing actually went down. Like, the last one was the Hindenburg, this one was the Lincoln assassination. Like, it showed you the event as we know it, as it took place. And I like that. I think that's a good idea, because it sets up, because even if you either aren't familiar with the event, because, I mean, to be fair, these have both been pretty well-known things. They might get a bit more obscure as time goes on, or you might just not know the details or whatever. It sets it up nicely so that as you're watching the episode, you know how it's meant to play out. So you know when things are changing.
Yeah, I think it's important, just like you say, just in case you don't know how it went down. I mean, like you say, these are major events, but if this runs for 7 seasons, they'll be scraping the barrel for events.
And to be fair, like, even though I knew both of these events, there was things in both of these, like scenes in both of these episodes that gave me a bit more detail that I didn't know of. I don't remember ever knowing exactly how the Hindenburg blew up. Like, I don't think I ever studied that specifically in school. So, to me, it was just the Hindenburg blew up. There was a disaster.
Yeah, fair enough.
So,
but I think it's just important to establish so that we know things are changing, even though we know things are changing, so we know exactly what's changed.
yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. So, obviously, the big thing from the last episode is that Lucy's sister no longer exists, and we spent a lot of time speculating as to, at the end, just how that might have happened. And I actually thought because obviously she gets the woman who works there, Jaya, to look into it. Well, when she goes on the trip in this episode, and when she comes back at the end, I actually thought there was a nice little twist to it.
Wasn't bad. I like that it was actually directly connected to the hint, because obviously we speculated, was it like a direct connection or was it just a random butterfly like thing?
Yeah, well, it was and it wasn't, but I liked that the way it worked was that, like, her mother and father never met, but because she was actually never, like, that was never her father anyway. I liked that twist. I thought it was a cool little thing.
It was.
Yeah.
I like that moment where she kind of clocks and pieces it together.
Because I think what works about it is that we're dealing with so much time travel and timey-wimey nonsense and, hugely theoretical things, and the solution to this ended up being a really simple, normal thing that some people have to go through, Like, it was a very realistic thing, and I like that.
Yeah, it was good.
So, so they go back to the Abraham Lincoln assassination, and one of the questions you had last week was, how do they know where to go?
Yes.
Or you brought it up anyway, and we knew they had a reason last week, but this week they wouldn't have had a reason. And I kind of came up with a reason for them in this episode, and probably for a lot of the episodes coming up.
Yeah, because they brushed over it much quicker this time.
They did. I think it will lead to a twist later on as well, where they make a mistake. But I think the way they know where to go is because, right, he's went back to this date and time. Okay, what happened of importance on that date? Lincoln get assassinated. Well, duh, let's go to where Lincoln was assassinated. That seems like the logic, at least going forward.
What I can't wait for is the time where there's like two major events on the same day, and they have to guess which one it is.
Or they go to the major event, but it turns out that's got nothing to do with what the villain's doing.
Yeah.
And he's not
there.
It
feels like such an obvious thing to do, but at the same time, they'd be stupid not to do it.
Yeah. They have to do it at some point, surely.
Yeah.
They have to.
You'd hope so.
Yeah. They go back in time, and Lucy sort of befriends Lincoln's son, and there's a sort of like moral debate going on: should we stop Lincoln from being assassinated? Because this has like clear effects. We see the people of the time celebrating the end of the Civil War, and the black community is actually all very excited because they see a lot of like hope and things are going to be better now, and a lot of that sort of like put into a sort of slow grind is the moment that Lincoln gets shot. A lot of the stuff that was sort of ongoing comes to a halt, and they raise the question, like, Rufus is like, seriously, can we not change this for the better? Like, I know we can. I know it'll change a lot of things, but surely it'll change it all for good. And of course, as a viewer, I'm thinking, well, yeah, but what if you're never born as a result of this change? What if your mother and father never meet because they go off and do well the different things?
Well, it's interesting because obviously last week it didn't have such a moral debate over whether or not they should save it, because sure, while people died, it wasn't to the same thing as this.
Yeah, this was someone who had a direct influence in major, like...
And everyone knows what he did. And everyone wonders... Like, it's such a common thing, like, what would he have done next?
And I think they accent it really well at the start of the episode, because Rufus runs into the other soldiers, the black soldiers, and they can't read or write, and they ask him to write down, like, a statement for the paper, because he's looking for his family. And I thought that accented everything very well, because this is like not all black people, because they bring up that they expect some black people have learned to read and write, and obviously, just by the way, as a present day person, it's kind of just really surreal, like the idea that like adults couldn't read and write at some point. It's just one of those things where we're so used to it, everyone learns to do that now, at least in our in the Western world.
This is one of those cases where he was obviously born in the North, and that's why he was free. That's why obviously they don't question it, because that was what the North was like. So obviously he got lucky and was one of those that got to read and write.
Yeah. So, but I think that sets it up nicely. It sets up the conflict, and like, here's what it was like before, and Rufus is an example of what it'll eventually be like. And that's not to say that today's perfect. Like, it certainly isn't. But
it's better than what it was then.
It's better than slavery. Yeah, like it's better than that.
There's no denying that. No matter how bad you think today is, it's better than then.
And by showing you that contrast that clearly at the start of the episode, it shows you what they're kind of like getting at. Like the whole time, it's like, should we save Lincoln because he's already done so much? And there's that line where his son says he's just getting started, and it's like,
yeah.
So no.
It's almost cliche the way it's put in, but it's like, you've got to do it, haven't you?
I think for this show it kind of works, because I think as much as it's a bigger budget, network TV show, there's an element of goofiness to them all walking around in these costumes, and what is a set that's designed to look like this time period. It just feels inherently a little bit goofy. And
also the idea that she's an expert on all of history.
So far, it's just American history, to be fair.
Well, okay, true. But that's still like a massive, 250-odd year period.
It's a lot. But at the very least, so far, the events have been so major, she would have known about them. It's when we get to really specific things later on.
That's when I'm going to start questioning it, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it'll be another great moment, actually, when they find out the date, and they turn and go, okay, what happened in that day? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
that
will be good.
Actually, that reminds me, I deeply enjoyed the paperweight joke.
Me too. I got a good chuckle from that.
Admittedly, I think they'd have been better saving that for maybe episode 6 or 7. Have this happen 6 times, and then have him crack that joke. I think that would have been even funnier.
Yeah.
That'd have been even. I mean, I could see him saying it. I seen it coming just before he said it, and it was funny. Don't get me wrong, it was really funny. But if they'd drawn it out for another few episodes...
If you had him casually getting slightly more and more irritated by it every time, and just that's it. Goddamn paperweights.
Yeah, like maybe by episode 5 there's an entire box of paper just flying at his face. Oh god. So Lucy, as she accepts this date and she goes to the theatre to watch the play, and she is the one who's saying, no, we can't change history, we can't alter it, but she changes her mind at the last second, but fails to actually change it, and Lincoln still dies. Of course, it was funny, because see, before they came back to present day, I was thinking, wait a minute, she technically jumped in and saved the general that was also up there.
Grant,
yeah. And I was thinking, they're going to go back and they're going to mention this Juliet Shakesman in the history books.
One amazing fake name.
Do you know what? Well, I love that Rufus used Denzel Washington, because no one will know who that is, but I feel like she got it from a poster on the wall. They can still figure out this is an alias.
Yeah.
This is not that smart. Come on, call yourself, I don't know, Scarlett Johansson or something.
Just be like, I'm Beyonce. Something ridiculous. Go one name. Just go for
Yeah.
it. Just
Yeah,
own
true.
it.
Yeah, well, you'd probably just assume our first name's Beyond and our second name's Say.
Probably.
Oh dear. But no, so they come back, and not only is she in the history books, I love that Mason realizes that it's her, and then says, "There's a high school named after you in whatever state," and I just,
Yeah.
that was funny.
It's amusing, but obviously it actually leads to something quite interesting. I think the idea that at what point do they change something so severe? Because at the minute they've clearly had an impact at both times. They've shown up in the newspapers both
Yeah,
times.
they're dancing around big things, but they're certainly.
Yeah, they're on the peripherals of both stories now. But at what point does it become where either A, they change something
Oh,
themselves too big,
I've
or
got an
B,
idea.
there's a conspiracy theory
Yeah, that's what
around
I was
them.
going to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just popped in my head as I started this.
They're going to run to someone who's like seen them in all these photographs and like, right, these three people show up in all these times and places. They need to do
can't
this.
wait.
They need to do this. This is a great idea.
It is, isn't it? It's just the fact that we both just had that
Yeah.
idea as well proves that it must be done.
Oh god, that's such a good idea.
Oh, the potential for this show is so high that if this doesn't deliver now, I'm going to be so disappointed.
You know, it's funny. Like, I enjoyed the episode, right? But I didn't think it was great. Like, I thought there was a lot of good things about it. But it does have that inherent kind of lightheartedness about it. But at the same time, it actually is kind of really good. Like the scene where the scene where she actually admits to them that she changed her mind and that she tried to save Lincoln, and when they're sitting in the ship, that was oddly touching. Like when she like admits that I tried to, and like they just kind of, you know.
I think the thing for me right now is it is good and it's fun, but I can see this becoming amazing.
Yeah, it could become amazing. And given the fact that Shawn Ryan is involved in showrunning it, I have a bit of faith that it might, as long as it doesn't get canned.
The fact that we've just had like a couple of good ideas for things that can happen. Like if we've just come up with that on the spot,
Yeah.
you know that they must have some good stuff planned, surely.
Well, let's look at stuff they're already teasing. They're already setting up the idea that what's his name, Flynn, the villain, Flynn, that he's already met Lucy at some point in her future where she's helping his cause.
Yeah, and he's really adamant that he's not trying to destroy America, he's trying to save it. So it's like,
Yeah, and I feel like he's probably telling the truth in a weird way.
I feel like he is as well. And it makes you wonder how bad is things when he's from, that he feels like this is the way to save America.
Yeah, and I have to wonder as well, like, can they go to the future? Like, the way he explained it in the last episode makes me think they can't, because it was all about folding back in itself. You know, the future's not happened yet, so they can't go there. But at the same time, I feel like eventually they're going to come up with some way of doing it, just so that they can have a future episode.
Sure, I feel like they're going to keep it a while, though, because it's like...
Finale. Season 1 finale.
Yeah, I think just as a budget, it's easier for them to go back than forward, because they just go, right, costume design, set, we just do this. Whereas forward, you've got to create new things from scratch.
Oh, I just thought how they could do it as well. Oh, we're having so many ideas. We're basically designing this show from scratch. But no, imagine this, right? You spend an episode where you think they're in the past, but the twist at the end of the episode is that they're actually in the future.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Like they're in maybe it's like a bottle thing where they're in one building the entire time, and they finally get to see outside at the end, and even they don't know, and they look out and it's like the post-apocalyptic future or something. I don't know.
Maybe. Or even if they're in the future, but it's like if they're just out in the countryside or something, like where it doesn't look like it's that different. It looks like it's relatively modern past sort of thing, like like not that long ago. And you go, oh, okay, and then it kind of turns around. They go to it finally pans around to the city, and you see like the big, like the typical like monorail thing that you see in that sci-fi stuff.
Some thoughts on the ending actually, to get away from the speculation about what might happen. So Lucy comes home. It's funny how we end both episodes with Lucy coming home and like finding something out. But she comes home and she has this new knowledge that her father was never really her father, and she tries to like bring it up with her mother, and the mother gets annoyed that she's brought it up, and I'm like, wait a minute, you have no idea if your mother in this timeline has ever lied to you about this.
That's what I thought, and I don't think she has, because the mother's like, today of all days, which makes me think that the mother knows something that she doesn't.
I don't, yeah. Or, I mean, she's supposed to know it, but she doesn't because of the timey-wimey nonsense. And I feel like when she mentions her father, I think the mother's just thinking about her natural father, because in this timeline she knows who her natural father is. You know,
Yeah, because in this timeline, the
she's never
person
met.
she thinks is
Yeah.
her father, they've never met. So, yeah.
So Lucy needs to start piecing this together a bit quicker. I feel like she's not thinking outside the box enough.
That said, she didn't go, "Oh, who is my father?" She goes, "Wow, we need to talk about my father."
Yeah.
That like it could have been anything, but the thing is, whatever happened between the mother and the father is obviously bad enough that there's some bad blood there. Or
Which would make sense, because that's why she never told her about her in the other timeline, where she had this new husband that she could now pass off as her father.
that, or it's more tragic. But I'm inclined to think bad blood.
And then her fiance, who she doesn't know because it happened in a different timeline, walks in and kisses her. And I will say this: that kiss was wonderfully awkward.
It was.
And I thought Abigail Spencer's delivery of "hello" was perfect.
Yeah.
It was that awkwardness of this proper romantic kiss where she has no memory of this person, but knows that this isn't assault. Like, this is normal to him. He's walking in as if he's kissing his girlfriend, and just it was perfect. It was like,
Yeah.
hi,
Yeah.
it was great.
One other thing in the episode I think will end up becoming important at some point. The locket. They spoke about how items that travel can take things from one timeline to another. I'm sure that's going to come up and be important at some point.
That will become important. I think you're right, because it was still. And by the way, how did Jaya have that picture in her computer at the end? That seemed a
Didn't
bit.
she just scan it?
She took it out and scanned it.
Took a picture of it on a phone, put it on a computer? Yeah, why not?
Okay, it didn't seem like that. It looked like.
Well, there's some time's passed for them. They haven't just vanished and reappeared, have they?
I didn't think she'd left it with her though, but okay.
No, I thought she just like here. I thought she'll have just taken a picture of it.
All right, okay. It was a minor point anyway. It wasn't a big deal, but
Yeah.
it just occurred to me when I seen it. All right. Anything else? I think we've covered all the main points.
Just as a little bit of negative, I thought at times the music was a bit too intrusive. I thought the music was okay, but at times it was just a bit blaring and unnecessary. Where it really stood out for me was, just before they had that little shootout sequence.
What you mean when they stupidly just walked in front of the villain who was walking past the window at the time?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Just before that, when they spotted him, but like it went immediately into this like full chase music, and it was like, hang on, you're only going around the corner.
It's funny actually. That shootout was, it was just kind of basic and lame. Right? I mean, I'm not complaining much, but it wasn't anything to shout about. And it just made me think, they probably have to keep these very simple because they spend so much budget on doing all the set, the dressing for the time period and whatever else, that they don't have enough left for really good action sequences. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe they'll surprise me in a later episode, but that's the feeling I get.
It didn't
so far.
exactly call for much either, though. To be fair.
Nah, true. But like I say, it did just start with the villain walking past the window and happening to notice them.
Yeah.
Which was a wee bit convenient, I guess, is the word.
Yeah, it was.
But since you mentioned the music, I will mention the sound mix. Obviously, the music's a bit intrusive, but I will compliment the use of the 0.1 channel in the 5.1 mix. The bass that kicks off whenever they're travelling in the ship, whenever that thing starts to spill up. Spot on. Neighbours, sure to complain.
It's the best kind.
That's the best kind. Alright guys, that's Timeless. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Thank you very much for watching. Get us on Twitter at mild_fuzz. We'll see you next time.